Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making a meal strictly from food storage. I actually made a video on this before a couple years ago, so I wanted to go ahead and reshoot this video so I can get that out there, especially for the new people, and because I do it different every time. And since I'm focusing mostly just on food storage stuff, I wanted to show you a great meal that you can make just from things you have put away, mostly dehydrated foods. Okay, so let's get busy on this. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to get your good grass-fed butter, or if you're vegan, I recommend maybe a refined coconut oil if you really want to avoid the coconut flavor, but unrefined should be good in this too. I don't think it's going to change the flavor a whole awful lot. Or you can even use something like avocado oil or grapeseed oil, but for us, for this, since we're not vegans and I love butter, butter is the best thing. And so you want to get a good, maybe at least a tablespoon or more. I'm getting a pretty good slab. You can see this big right here, and I'm going to put it in my little Dutch oven, and now I'm going to go put this on the wood stove and let it get good and hot. So I would say if you're using a conventional stovetop, maybe about medium to medium high heat. You're going to want it pretty hot, but not too hot either. So let me go put this on the stove so it can get hot, and then I'll show you what else we're going to do. Okay, now you can see right here I have this mostly done. What is in this cup is I've got about a cup of white rice, and then I'm going to do another cup of the broken spaghetti noodles. Now if you're gluten-free, just nix the spaghetti noodles or find another grain or gluten-free type pasta you can use. You can also buy, if you're liking the idea of using a pasta, you can also get like the orzo, which is a really tiny pasta. Then you don't have to go through the trouble of breaking up your spaghetti noodles like this. Now if you're vegan, typically your spaghetti noodles are not going to have any eggs in them, so they're a pretty safe bet for that. In fact, these organic ones that you can get from Costco, they are just made from nothing but organic semolina wheat, so wheat flour. So that is a good choice. I'm sure they add water to it too, of course. You have to if you've seen it in my pasta making videos. So what you want to do is simply take your noodles. That might be, you don't want to get too big of a handful because they get hard to break up. I'd say about that much at a time, and just start breaking them into 1 inch or smaller pieces. I find the smaller the better, but it's really totally up to you. And you just keep doing that, breaking up those noodles until you get the amount that you want. You can even vary your ratio of rice to spaghetti noodles. You can go maybe a cup and a half of rice and then just do a half cup of spaghetti noodles, or throw in something like maybe do 4 different things. Throw brown rice in there. Just keep in mind, if you're going to do brown rice, the cooking process of this is going to take much longer. I've tried it before with brown rice, and I really didn't like it near as much as with white rice. But anyway, yeah, you can try some different types of grains. I was thinking about at some point trying to use instead of just rice, using wheat berries, like the soft wheat berries, or even spelt berries. I think that would be really good. But anyway, just keep doing that with your noodles until you get the amount you want. So I'm just about there. Looks like I've got a little bit more to do, and your fingers will probably get a little bit sore. Now this will feed, I don't really have a great name for it. It's comparable to rice-a-roni, but you're making it from scratch. You're making it from home. And I would say that I always still make this amount, even though there's just 2 of us, but this will easily feed a family of 4, and you should still have leftovers. So you can figure out, you may want to add, increase this by 50% if you've got a bigger family than 4, though I think it should feed 6 just fine, because it lasts us for quite a while, just the 2 of us. But anyway, so there's the noodles all broken up. And now I'm going to go check and see how the butter is doing in the pan. Okay, I got the butter all melted in the pan. It's pretty hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the pasta and rice mixture in there and just start stirring it. Now, as you're going along through this process, what you may need to do is add more butter or oil, whatever it is you're using, and keep going. But basically, you're just wanting to get this, each piece coated very well with the butter or oil. And then the reason you want it pretty hot is you're going to brown these. So I like to let them sit for, you know, about a minute, and then stir them, and then sit, and then stir them again. And by the way, the lighting might seem a little weird because I'm in here on my wood stove, but I got my nice little camp lantern. Remember I talked about in the other video? I got it sitting here, and it's putting a lot of light on the subject, so I'm pretty happy with that. It works really good in these dark areas because it's very dark in here at the wood stove. So anyway, I'll come back. You're just going to keep stirring and keep cooking it until it's really brown. And so when this is brown, the color I want it, I will come back and show you what it looks like. All right, so the rice and the pasta are nicely browned now. You can see how that looks. See the difference in color. One thing you'll start to notice is the rice will lose that translucent look before it starts to turn more of a brown color, and then the noodles brown really nice. So that's right there is the color you're going to want them to be before you proceed to your next step in this dinner. So now what I'm going to do is start putting in some dehydrated food. So I'm going to be using the Mother Earth Products onions, the sliced garlic, their carrots, and their freeze-dried mushrooms that I'm always raving about. And how much you put in is going to be entirely up to you. I usually put in about a handful of each thing. And so let's do that. A handful of the mushrooms, a handful of the carrots. You know, that might be about a quarter to a third cup. Same thing with the onions. And then again with the sliced garlic. I'm not going to put tons of that in because the other thing I like to use is granulated garlic. And though I keep my granulated garlic in the kitchen in a smaller container, I'm bringing these in, this and the black pepper, to show you these. I get these from Costco.com. So I just order them online. So I'm going to put in about a tablespoon, and you can put in more if you want, of the granulated garlic. We like lots of garlic, so I like to use both the sliced and the granulated. And again with the black pepper, and again entirely up to you how much you want to put in. I'm going to put in a tablespoon. We like lots of pepper here. And now I'm going to mix that in a little bit just to kind of see how that looks. And then I've got some more goodies to add. We've got to put in some salt. So I'd say about a teaspoon or so of a good healthy salt, red mineral or the Himalayan pink salt. I use both of them. Red mineral is my favorite. Okay, now to move on to my own home-dried foods. I've got some snow peas from the garden. Okay, about a handful of those. Of course, all the dehydrated stuff is stuff that came from my garden. I mean, the stuff that I did myself. I'm going to do a handful of tomatoes. So all these things from food storage. I'm going to put in a handful of the dehydrated zucchini dices. This one I had to open because I didn't have it open yet. And then a handful of the mixed greens blend. And I'll go ahead and link to the video of my mixed greens right up there in the corner so you can see what I like to put in my mixed greens blend. Now, for spices, for herbs, I like to use some thyme, about a tablespoon, some lavender leaves, and I have a video on lavender leaves, and I'll go ahead and link to that up here in the corner, and sage. Basil is another good one you can throw in there. I'm just going to stick with these ones for today. And I'd say about a tablespoon of each. We like lots of flavor in our food. You can go less if you want. You can use any herbs or spices that you want in your meal. Throw in some paprika or cayenne pepper. I love cayenne pepper, or red pepper flakes. I tend to do that a lot in here. Okay, so now the next thing is, if you want to have meat in it, if you're vegan, just don't bother with this part, but if you'd like to have some meat, I've got here some ground beef that I canned up in 2015. So I was stocking up on, I think this was when I was buying the grass-fed beef from the store, but I also have a lot of grass-fed beef that we bought local. We bought a side of beef. And anyway, I was busy canning up a lot because I was running out of freezer space. And I tell you, this canned burger is really good. So this is at least 3.5 years old. And all that there, that's just the fat. That's not anything rotten or anything like that. It smells wonderful. I love the home canned ground beef. And so I'm just going to throw a bunch of that in there. I may not use it all, maybe at least half the jar. Okay, and mix that in there. And I know you're wondering about that rice and those noodles. We're going to get to how you cook them here in a minute. I just like to mix everything in well to see how it's going to look. And then I always like to throw in some olives. This is, what is this? This is about 4 ounces, 3.8 ounces of olives. Again, this is just whatever you want to put in here. Again, I do it different every time. I've done like taken some of my tomatillos and green tomatoes that I froze up from the year before and added those in here, and that turned out pretty good. All right, then the next thing you want to do is you're going to add in some water, and then you're going to finish cooking that. So that is how your pasta and your rice is going to get cooked. So we're going to put in, since we have a cup of rice and a cup of noodles, not counting all the dehydrated stuff, I'm going to put in 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to stop there. Even though I have all the dehydrated foods in there, this particular rice that I have tends to take less water than others. I don't like it as much. I like the Costco rice, organic rice that they carry, is one of my favorites. But, and I'll link to that below if you want to check it out. It's also on Amazon, but it's cheaper to get from Costco. But anyway, don't put in more than 4 cups, even if you have a whole bunch of dehydrated foods in here like I do. That's something you can add later, because I've made the mistake of putting too much water in, trying to compensate for all the dehydrated foods, and it just ended up being too much water. So just start with your 4 cups of water to this, and then check it, you know, partway through the cooking process. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this on low heat on your stove, whether it be your wood stove or your conventional stove top. Put a lid on it, and then you're going to cook it for 20 minutes. So I would say check it at about 10 and 15 minutes to see how it looks. Stir it around a little bit to see how the water is absorbing, see if you think you might need to add more water for the sake of the vegetables. You know, and then let it finish. So 20 minutes should be enough, but you may need to go longer depending on, especially if you use brown rice, you might need to go up to 45 minutes. Okay, got the lid on, gonna go put it on the stove, and I'll be right back. Okay, so in about 20 minutes, that meal will be ready to eat, and it should be very, very good. It's one of our favorites. In fact, funny story is that the first time I made that and served it when my kids were little, my youngest was really kind of a picky eater at that time. We didn't let him be a picky eater, but he was more like if he saw something and he thought it didn't look very nice, then he would just say, I don't like it, without even trying it. But he wasn't allowed to leave the table until he at least took a bite, and he ended up loving it. It was one of his favorite meals. So it's usually a very well-received family meal, and I recommend you give it a try, and feel free to make whatever tweaks to it you want. Like I said, I do it differently every single time that I make it. I never make it the same way. I use different spices and herbs. You can even look at adding some organic beef bouillon to that. That's pretty good. And makes it adds it to a really nice flavor if you're going for the beef, or you can use other types of meat or no meat like I said before. Now, since I'm not going to finish the video showing the meal, I'm just going to let it cook and get this video done. What I'll do is go ahead and get some photos, and I'm going to insert them right here so you can see how it looks when it's all done, or at least how it should look when it's all finished. And I really hope that you enjoyed this recipe and that you give it a try. It's very simple. The hardest part you have to deal with is just breaking up those noodles if you decide to use the spaghetti noodles, but there's easier ways than that if you go with the all rice or get the orzo noodles. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.